welcome to another episode of the Who Has Time for This podcast, a podcast where we delve into complex topics through the lens of our own unique perspective.
You got it!
I did it on the first try. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Katie.
And if you listened to our last episode, we talked a lot about us as two individuals, our upbringings, education, media consumption, etc., and how they have shaped our political beliefs and views of the world. So now we're going to talk about how we channel that into actual action and impact in our own lives. I am a working mom of two. Katie is an art therapist who owns her own business. We're just regular people. Mm-hmm. We don't have a ton of time.
Nope.
But we are figuring out our paths to make
what's possible for us to make a difference.
Yeah. And I feel like we're at a point in history where everybody is kind of itching for that. Not everybody, but lots of people we know, lots of people we see on social media voicing the same, like, what can I, a regular person, actually do?
Yeah.
So,
because it's easy to feel powerless.
It is so easy to feel powerless.
And don't succumb to I just got a cool new print from an artist that says, you are not doomed.
Yeah, you are not doomed. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about, so just like as a little refresher, I identify like progressive, I'm pro-social democracy, that's, big government as the great equalizer, safety nets, etc.
I identify more as a democratic socialist. I would love to find a different way forward than capitalism.
All right, so that's where we are. And I actually think it's like a really perfect dynamic because in the great scheme of things, we need two focuses, and I'll get to that in a little while, but just remember how we each just said we identified. It's going to come back later.
And it also is like, I see it too often these days where like people are like infighting, like they're on like the left side of the spectrum, like don't fight with each other over here, at least not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But work together to overcome the authoritarianism that's trying to take over.
So actually,
stop the infighting.
Yeah, stop the infighting, totally. And we're going to talk about that. Just quickly, before we talk about channeling, I think it's important for us to also just really quick talk about some of the bigger issues that people are trying to solve through policy today and where we found those. We'll just identify like the biggest ones. So if you're a candidate running for office, you have a website, you put your platform up there, and your platform is like all the policies that you think will answer society's needs for today. So I think the biggest ones right now that affect everyone on like a grand scale: affordability, healthcare, immigration, climate, and then like social media, AI, etc. And of course, there's civil rights.
So is this your, like, what's most important to you?
No, I guess so. It's not that it's most important. I think these are the most pressing things right now.
Yeah, that's what you would run on. Like, that's your, like, this is, vote for me because of these.
Yeah, exactly. So I took this from James Tallarico's website because he had the most robust one. But, like, just quickly, we're not going to get into all of it because it's a lot. This is like lots of research heavy things, but let's just talk about, let's start with affordability. That's like the crisis du jour, right? I'm, again, as I talked about, progressive, so I want more taxing on the rich to the point that it redistributes wealth for social programs like paid leave, higher education, safety nets for the poor, etc. So that the point is so that everybody becomes part of the middle class, basically. That would be the ultimate goal, right? And so where do you fall on that?
Yeah, I think wealth inequality is a bigger problem than it ever has been in the past, because the richer the rich get, the more power they have, and the richer they become, and the poorer we all become. So yeah, definitely a tax on the wealthy, like we used to have. Yeah. Didn't they it used to be like 90%?
Yes, it was after World War II.
Yeah. And with that comes like affordable housing.
Yes.
Yep. Because homelessness is skyrocketing, and we're criminalizing it, so we're just funneling people into our prisons, which is awesome, so they can do slave labor. Sorry. Okay, that's not what this is about.
It's all right.
But it's all connected.
It's all connected.
But yeah, like, these bigger issues are trickling down to, we can't afford eggs. Like, It's like, I think that we're all, like, we have to solve the bigger things, and we are seeing, like, trickle-down economics doesn't work, but it's trickling down to us in that we're seeing our grocery bills rise, and
it's trickling
our
down
gas
the wrong
prices
way.
are rising. And, like, so, and the most no-brainer place to get that money is from these billionaires who are not paying their taxes.
And they're consolidating all
and these
the wealth.
corporations who are not paying taxes.
Exactly. So we pretty much agree on the end game here for this particular issue in the immediate future. There's more. You could take it to the next level depending on where you fall on the political spectrum.
Yeah.
But I guess my point here is saying, like, we want the same measured outcome at the moment. So.
Something I think about as, like, a therapist is, like, when you're experiencing something different, like, your mind changes. So, like, when you become rich, you have a different experience, and now you become, like, scared to lose that.
Right.
So I can see where, like, this desperation of these rich people to not become, like, quote unquote poor, even though you wouldn't. It's like, go to therapy, people.
Yeah, totally.
But, like, I'm not some, like, I don't need to be rich. I just want to be able to, like, afford where I can live and have a little outdoor space and be able to travel and take days off of work.
Yeah, and I think part of this cost of living, affordability, crisis, and conversation is we need to talk about housing as a human right, and we need to talk about it as the goal doesn't have to be, the goal of the American dream should not be centered on home ownership anymore. The world has changed. We need to make it, like, not taboo to, like, live in what's called middle housing, which is like a townhouse, a condo, whatever. Like, that's fine. You shouldn't.
But maybe you can own that.
Yeah, exactly. And also, the whole system shouldn't be set up so that your only wealth comes from owning a home. I guess it should be, we need different ways it's not even to have wealth, it's just to, like, live and then retire in dignity.
Yes.
And then have something to pass on.
And, like, how many, people who have retired and then, like, corporation that they worked for 50 years and took their pension away and now they gotta work. Like,
exactly.
And I would like to live somewhere where I can paint the walls if I want to. Like, I want to own my space.
Exactly. And yes, if home ownership, if that's what you want, should be in reach. But it doesn't have to be like a single family home, I guess, which is what I think is stopping so many people. Because A, it's too expensive. B, it's just not like the housing that we need right now. We just need more different types of housing, not more single
and if we
family homes.
We want to get into how the suburbs have isolated us over the course of history.
Exactly.
It's cheaper and it houses more people, and you can still make it where you get your own space and you
can own it in an apartment,
and you can have outdoor space. But we have to build those buildings that are
exactly. So that's...
And then we're also less reliant on cars.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big issue we're tackling in general as a country.
But, like, it's like the cost... Wealth inequality, I feel like, is the most immediate, because if we do something about that, we can do something about all these other things.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, people are all up in arms about social justice and human rights, and the people who don't believe that everyone should have the same rights, it's because they're feeding you this misinformation to distract you from the wealth inequality.
Yes.
And it's people just using scapegoats. It's happened over and over in history.
Yep. We're in that moment now.
Yeah.
It's trans. They're being held up as the scapegoats that are causing all your problems, when really it's the consolidation of extreme wealth at the top.
And pointless cruelty being put upon these people so that the rich can continue to get richer. And if you boil it down to the simplest terms.
Exactly. And all these, like, policy positions draw from that. And part of the social justice, too, is, like, addressing root causes of crime, which are very much related to poverty and wealth inequality. Like, I think talking about this affordability, housing, etc., would lay the groundwork to fix a lot of other things.
Like way back when, Tupac said, "My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a purse to snatch."
Yeah, exactly.
And still I see no changes.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll come back to these, especially as the midterms get close. We'll do another episode where we dive a little bit deeper on more of the spectrum of policy. But I wanted to just give, like, a snapshot because it plays into how you get involved, because you might get involved based on one specific policy that you really believe in, like school funding or whatever, for which we saw at No Kings. There's a booth specific to calling on increasing school funding to our public schools from the state. Let's just talk quickly about healthcare. It's a human right. I believe, you believe. I think we probably, well, it's not, I don't differ on the fact that I think we need universal healthcare. I think, well, you can tell me what you think. I think we're going to maybe get there different ways. I know Chris Murphy is a proponent of offering Medicare for all as an option versus going straight to Medicare for all. His thinking is that eventually it becomes so popular that we just get there on our own. But then there's some people like Bernie Sanders who are like, no, straight to Medicare for all right now.
Well, if you look at socialized countries, like they still have the option for private insurance if they want it. And some people choose it. But right now, we just have these like private insurers who are the middleman, who are taking all of the money. So as a person whose livelihood depends on insurance payments, my clients are, unless they're on Medicaid, my clients are paying so much to come see me. They pay a monthly fee for their insurance, and then they have to pay another copay, or they have to pay their whole deductible. And then what trickles down to me is not equivalent to what they're paying. I'm not getting paid enough. So all the money is going to this middleman. For what?
Yep, exactly. For nothing, really. Admin stuff.
And like what I provide is like something that a lot of people can't afford. It's not like life-saving cancer treatments, although it is life-saving sometimes. Worked with many people who were close to not having life.
Totally. And then, as women, people with common sense, I want to restore reproductive health protections and freedoms, regulate medical debt collection, which ideally we get to a point where that's not a thing anymore because we provide health care for a low cost or for free.
Also, just shout out here, if medical debt is something that you are passionate about, there is a nonprofit that I like to donate to, like a small monthly donation, but it's called Undue Medical Debt. So if you have medical debt, it's sold to, debt collectors or whatever. And then your debt is eventually bought by another, whatever, company for a smaller amount than what you actually owe. You still have to pay it all. But the whatever corporation who bought your debt didn't have to pay as much as you're going to have to pay. So now you're paying them, and they make money off of it. So this undue medical debt buys people's medical debts for a smaller amount, and then forgives it. So look them up. They're great.
Awesome. That's one way to make a difference. Moving on to one of the other biggest issues of today, immigration and border security. So just reform and overhaul the whole thing. I don't really care how you got here. If you came here the right way, or you came here however you came here, I don't care. Nope. It doesn't matter to me. But I want there to be a pathway to citizenship that makes sense, is not out of reach, and is possible and doesn't take a million years. So that's what I want. I understand the need to have ports of entry where you can tell if someone evil is coming through and turn them away. That makes sense to me. But then make that a reality. Punish people after the fact because one bad person came through that shouldn't have. You know what I mean?
And I also feel like where we are right now, the bad people can get through because they're friends with the billionaires.
Right.
Some guy who's coming here from Mexico in hope of a better life for an honest living to support his family is not a bad guy.
Right. No, and I mean, when I'm
I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't think you're.
Actual the one gang member that made it through or whatever. You know what I mean? Sure, maybe that shouldn't have happened, but
But maybe we also can offer them, resources so that they don't feel like they have to turn to a gang.
Yeah, or
because people usually do that because they don't
countries so that there are no gangs in their countries.
People resort to violence because of poverty
and desperation. Yep. Yeah, totally.
But yes, I don't think immigration is a problem.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah.
I wish we had a way that people could do it that was affordable and that didn't take so long and was achievable, was accessible.
Exactly.
Because it's
and why shouldn't it be?
People come here illegally because it's really expensive.
And the only reason it is that way is because we haven't updated it for decades. If it was just like updated to be relevant to the times we live in, it would be more efficient. It would be easier. It would be cheaper. It's like, I mean, maybe I'm naive, but I feel like that's common sense.
Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Came in and helped us so much.
Social media, AI, and tech, regulate it all. Just regulate it to up the wazoo. I don't care.
I already talked about my opinions on AI in a previous episode.
We'll link that. There's just so much. We will do more episodes about these things in the future, but we'll talk about energy and climate because that is like the existential threat we live in. More renewable energy, more affordable renewable energy, which is the trajectory it's taking anyway. Educating people on that because I think there's just so many people who just don't get it. Like solar panels aren't that expensive. There's a million types of programs to
and then you even save on your personal energy bill.
We pay one rate every month for electricity, no matter if we're running our air conditioner or what. And it's because we have solar panels, and that's the way our energy was set up, and it's great, honestly.
And also, like, more public transportation, less dependence on cars and individual transportation. Like
walkable infrastructure.
Yes. I want to be able to take the train to work. I don't want to have to drive.
Yeah.
In my ideal world, I don't have a car. I don't want one.
So we are dealing with like a lot of these issues coming to a head at a time when our whole national and global world is like accelerating into this digital landscape. It's a crazy time, but I like to think of it as what Representative Sarah McBride called a slingshot moment, where we are stretched beyond belief, but we can catapult ourselves into a new world and progress. So what are we going to do to get there? And she's one of my favorite people in government right now. She's super level-headed, reasonable, pragmatic, and so much grace. And if you don't know her, she's the first openly trans person, first openly trans person in Congress. And one of the things that she said, I copy and pasted this entire quote from her. I'm not going to read all of it, but she is just all about meeting people where they are, talking them through the most tense issues of our day with curiosity instead of judgment. And I think we could all learn from her because of all the people who don't need to show grace to other people. It's her, because she's lived through so much scrutiny and etc. But the lessons she takes away are ones of hope, optimism, and bridge building. So I really look up to her as a role model. But she called this a slingshot moment, which I just love and I'm going to use all the time. And so that brings us to what is our role in the slingshot moment. And I do quickly want to bring back a personal anecdote, and you can share how you felt during this time if so moved. But when Trump was elected in 2016, I was devastated and sad, and I was felt really terrible, extra terrible, because I had just sent out the save the dates to my wedding, and I was now everybody's gonna think that I'm happy and looking forward to my wedding. But I really thought Hillary Clinton was going to be elected president and that this was going to be a joyous week. And anyway, that was ridiculous thinking. But I was real sad. And then fast forward to him being reelected in 2024. I was not sad. I was just I was sad on a deep level. But my initial reaction was, right, America, are we going to do this? I guess we're going to do this. And to me, that was the moment where I knew this is a tidal wave transformation to the next America. Yeah. And we're going to have a real job to do to get there. But this is the moment. This is the opportunity. My resolve is steeled and I'm here. And that's when I decided to start my Instagram that it was specific to talking about these issues and trying to normalize these conversations just in everyday life with our friends and on the internet and whatever, joining a chorus of other people who already had identified this and just trying to define how I was going to live my life to see this through. I had just had a baby, mind you, like a couple months before, but I was like, nah, we're doing this. All right. I hear you. We're doing this.
Yeah. No, I had a similar, like in 2016, I just woke up and checked the results at 4 a.m. and just cried.
Yeah, exactly.
And then again, this time I woke up and checked the results, and I was like, I laid in my bed and I was like, okay, I will not be able to rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're going to have to work.
Exactly. Now, I explained in the last episode my very keen interest in politics and the political system as it exists today, and I'm taking the route of electoral politics is where I see my unique set of skills, beliefs, and experience being the best fit for me to try to funnel through change? I don't know. So I have gotten involved in my local Democratic town committee, which is your town's version of the Democratic Party. So all towns and cities have them. And I decided I'm going to get in on the ground floor of the Democratic Party and bring my millennial energy and hopefully join other people who are doing the same to I don't want to say take over, but remodel the Democratic Party in our image, because I feel like the Democratic Party is the best channel for me to work my way through.
And it's a party that's not really representing us right now.
Exactly, because it's lots of old guard trying to hang on to power.
Get out of there, Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
God.
And so that's where I'm going. I'm getting involved in the DTC. I am currently their communications chair, so I will be handling the Hamden Democratic Town Committee's social media and traditional media outreach. And I'm very excited for this because my whole point is going to try to get more people who are the future involved in the Democratic Party so that this party starts to change in a way that represents the values, policies, and things that I just talked about. I want it, and the reason I say I'm channeling this through electoral politics specifically is because in our current system, the way you build a political movement is by addition. You need to build coalitions. You need to win enough people over to vote to get you into office. And then when you're in office, you need to win over enough of your colleagues and other people on the other side of the aisle to vote for your policy, etc. So that's how I am. That's the sights I have set for myself.
Yeah,
however,
kind of a long-term.
Yeah. There are two methods to this, and I will explain it, and then you can weigh in on your where you see your trajectory. So there are two sides to this, and this is where a lot of the infighting comes in on the left. There doesn't have to be infighting if you realize there are two roles to play. So I'm pragmatic, not that other people aren't pragmatic, but I'm just like, this, it is what it is. Here's how I'm going to work within. Yeah. And then you have the people who want to push the public in a different direction, move that Overton window, and you need both. You need the things that shift public perception. So those are like, for a specific example, let's look at MLK versus the Black Panthers, right? Yeah. MLK was your electoral guy pushing for the structural change with laws, etc. The Black Panthers were the protests and the visceral displays to get your attention on this very important civil rights issue.
And they're both needed. And at the time, like, we wouldn't have gotten where we were without both of them. But now...
Yeah. Malcolm X, too. Yeah.
And, like, when you look back on it now, you don't hear as much about the Black Panthers part of it.
Yeah, exactly, because history is written. But they were all important.
It's important,
together. And sure, did they infight about who was doing it the right way? I'm sure they did. But the point was you needed both. You needed to shift public perception, and then you needed to funnel through that change. Yeah. Through a person who is, or a movement that seems more moderate, but really you're going toward the same goal. Yeah. The approach is a mix of, radical displays to shine light on the issue, and then structural change requires the current system we work in. Another example, and I wish I could think I knew their names, but I don't. But I saw this actually on Instagram with a video that was talking about why we need both things. Yeah. But it was Amanda's Mild Takes. I've talked about her before. She highlighted the Martin Luther King Black Panther / Malcolm X dynamic. Yeah. And then she talked about the suffragettes. So there was I forgot who exactly it was, but the actual person who worked with Congress to create the law that allowed women to vote, and then there was a specific woman, I forgot, a specific activist who went on hunger strikes and was arrested. Yeah. To call attention to the issue. Yeah. But you needed both because we needed to fundamentally shift public perception. And sometimes you need extreme cases to just move the needle ever so slightly to work through that structural change. So that's where I see myself in this. I'm I want to be navigating the structural changes that I wish to see in the world.
I'm actually in the process of changing over my business to a nonprofit because we want to be much more active in the community. Yeah. So that would require, grants and stuff because we want to be able to do host political art gallery shows and bring art to our community and unite the people around us together and kind of do that, I guess grassroots kind of stuff. One of my biggest, world views human views, I guess, that I see a lot of people sort of trapped by, and I always want to help to kind of free people from that is people think there's a certain way that you're supposed to be. Yeah. And all of these sort of rules in our society are caging us. Yep. And that's kind of what I do in my work every day is help people see no, you're just fine. The way you are, you don't need to make all these changes, even though that outside pressure is coming in. And to kind of bring that to the greater community, I think when people see that more within themselves and realize, I'm okay just the way I am, then they're more likely to say, oh, you're okay just the way you are, too. And it's okay if we're different. And I think that's a very powerful way for people to become more empathetic with each other. Yeah. And then art has always been art's political. It's always been a political tool. It's always been used to further political action and to bring awareness. Yeah, yep. Look at things during the AIDS crisis, the AIDS quilt, or gosh, there's so many. Look at memorial statues. Yeah, that's how you remember something. Yeah, it's just so that's kind of where I'm hoping to be able to reach with Art People, which is our nonprofit business. Yeah. And I would love to, become politically active, join, a DTC or something. Yep. But right now, this is where I'm focused. Yep. Yes. I don't even know if that all made sense.
No, it does. It's just, it's where you use your own skills and expertise and channel it for impact. And it's going to look different for everybody. And we need all of it. It's just this very interwoven web of talent, skills, experiences, and expertise, and it's all necessary. Whether you're a leftist or a liberal, progressive, communist, etc. I mean, look at Mamdani. He goes to Washington, D.C. and talks to Trump and then gets commitments to funding for housing.
Trump loves somebody who's charismatic. Yeah,
balancing his political beliefs with his pragmatism. Yep. And that wasn't exactly an example of what I was trying to say. I guess my point is it's a whole ecosystem out there. Politicians aren't the end-all be-all of our problems and solutions. We need the activists. And even
they are swayed by the people around them.
We need the activists, we need the judges, we need the regular people calling Congress. And when people are well, all of these tools have been at our disposal forever, and yet here we are. I would argue that yes, they have been, but I don't think so many people knew about them. Since when did we talk about calling our Congress people on social media? Did we do that in the early 2000s? No, or whenever social media started? I feel we're just awakening to how powerful the internet and social media can be to actually channel change if you can get more people on board.
Yeah. I was going to say, social media can be a super powerful tool that we've never had before.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it is sort of a historical cycle of people being involved and not. Because, like, look at, like, we wouldn't have gotten labor laws if people weren't involved. And then, you know, like, people get really involved and make change. Progressive era. Yeah. And then people are like, oh, I guess I don't have to pay much. And then we kind of slide back. Exactly. But this, I think, in our, like, recent history of, like, you know, since the U.S. was colonized. Yeah, yeah. This is maybe the most extreme kind of cycle of it.
Yes, exactly. And I guess the whole point of our conversation is that anyone can take part with whatever time and skill and expertise you have. And the more of us who have these conversations with the people in our lives, the more we not only just get past this Trump era, but actually put these policies in place that we're talking about that have been vacant from our way of life so far, such that we are in the affordability crisis that we're in today, that we're in the energy crisis we're in today, that we're in the climate change crisis that we're in today. Like, we're in a lot of crises, and there are a lot of different solutions that need to come to the table, and people are frustrated. Why hasn't this been addressed? And, like, it has been in bits and pieces, but not in a way that has made life easier for a majority of Americans. And my point is that the end goal here isn't get rid of Trump. The end goal is, what's America 2.0 going to look like? Because we are at that point, I think.
How are we going to make life better for everybody?
Yeah. And is it, like, time to rewrite our Constitution? Maybe. Probably. So on and so forth. I don't know. There's just so much potential even in our flawed system. We just need to address the lowest hanging fruit, the biggest flaws, and then keep making change from there, such as get big money out of politics. That would do a whole lot of good. So much. And that's just one thing. It's one really huge thing, but it's one step. And I will bring this home by talking about two things that have really impacted me and showed me the way. And that is my favorite influencer, Emily in Your Phone, who's all about showing you how you can use your own little life and experiences to make change. Her book is called Democracy in Retrograde, and it's wonderful. We each took the civic personality quiz that's in here, and I believe we both got leader was one of our highest ones.
What are the four?
It was leader. Let me get it. Leader, giver, connector, creator.
I can't remember if my highest was connector or creator, but my top three were leader, connector, and creator, and I think giver was a little lower.
Yes, mine was leader, then creator, then giver, and connector. So these are just like, your personality is going to fall among these four buckets, and then she gives you, like, depending on your highest scoring one, like if I scored high on leader, she tells you what your characteristics are. You're persuasive, bold, emotionally intelligent, confident. Like, I feel like those are pretty accurate for both of us. What you can do depending on where you are in your life. So if you only have a few hours a month to dedicate to action, she says, attend a school board meeting, organize a group of your friends to be a political action pod, host a monthly club where you talk about current events, post on your socials about policy issues you care about. If you have more than a few hours a month, maybe you volunteer during an election for a candidate. Maybe you write op-eds about policy issues in your local media. If you are looking for a career change, maybe you need to run for office, or you find a position at an advocacy organization. So this book is just really great for understanding where you fall in the spectrum, which is what we talked about, and how
giving you practical things to do.
How you can actually channel that energy into something that makes change, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, or you like change your whole career. I really highly recommend that you buy it. It's coming out in paperback at the end of April. So there you go. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is, yes, it's great to want to make change and everything, but we should also be aware of how the system actually works today, what its limitations are, and where the opportunity for improvement is. And I mentioned him in the last episode, but Ben Sheehan is a influencer that I follow, or content creator. I don't know what you want to call them. But he works with PBS to produce a educational civics YouTube show. And he wrote this book called What Does the Constitution Actually Say? And it's the Constitution, but he outlines... Annotates it, yep, with FYIs and in my opinion. So he shares historical tidbits, he clarifies the confusing language, and he offers what he thinks would be how we would change it today if we were to rewrite the Constitution to apply to today's world. And
because I mean, when you think about it, it was written before women or black people could vote.
Yes. So
slavery was still happening.
And like people get so frustrated with politicians, especially right now, the Democratic resistance. And you have the right to. You voted for these people. They're supposed to be representing us.
Yeah.
But there's only so much the minority party can do. Like we have to contend with that reality as well. And I think people would be less frustrated and more like, okay, let me channel my frustration into something that is more practical right now.
Yeah.
If we all had a better understanding of how the system is today and what it could be in the future. And I think that of all the guides to demystify that, his is really good because it's funny and it's accessible and it's not boring. It's
nice.
A non-boring guide to how our democracy is supposed to work.
Cool.
So on that note, any final thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, we all have our own parts to play. We all might have slightly different, things we want to happen, but we're all, I think most people who may be listening to this, we all probably are wanting the same first steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd love to dismantle lots of systems that we live within. But the first step is like fixing wealth inequality and sustainable energy and
even if these feel like small
but they're huge things.
Yeah, trajectory of where you wish everything was, they still would cause quite a lift. You know what I mean?
Like we all have different strengths and we all have different roles to play and no role is more important than the others. Like everybody listening, just think about what you can do.
Exactly.
Just because you're not thinking of running for office doesn't mean that you can't help facilitate change in some way.
Yeah, you don't have to run for office. You can literally talk to your grandma about climate change.
Yeah.
Change your mind about it.
Or even just like kind of sitting down with your own beliefs.
Yeah.
Thinking about where have they come from, what has influenced them, and maybe, trying to notice if there's anything that you think might need to evolve a little bit. I feel like I'm always doing that.
Yeah, me too. And that's why we talked about the media consumption we have. I try to challenge myself from both sides because there's like lots of more leftist stuff that I just don't come into contact with that often in my typical media consumption, but I'd like to broaden my views. And also I'd like to consider how people on the right come to their views and how do I solidify mine with all this new information that I have, etc. So, always approaching people with curiosity instead of judgment to try to like find common values because people are driven by values as we talked about. And if we can identify values that we all agree on, we all want to be safe, right? Yeah. Safety is like a big divider between the right and the left. How do we feel safe? But if I use this specific example because I listened to a podcast where a messaging person talked about this. She's like, lots of people voted for Trump because they wanted to feel safe from the immigration overload. Quotes. I'm using quotes, everybody, if you're just listening. And it's like, okay, well, that was clearly a mistake because we're not any safer. We're less safe now. Yeah. And having elected him. So you approach those people with like, you want your family to be safe. I want my family to be safe too. This is how I think we can all be safe. And when you use that as a common denominator, it's a much stronger way of communicating than you voted for Trump and you're stupid. Like,
there's
what I mean? This was a bit of a tangent.
You ever have that moment where you're talking to someone who like thinks of themselves as a more conservative person? But that, like, I think that you and I would probably agree if you had a little more information.
Yeah.
And then you say, like, oh, yeah, but, like, this problem stems from these things,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So like if we change this thing, then it would fix this problem. And you ever get the like reaction where they just kind of like become quiet?
Yep.
And like, ooh, it went into their brain a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, so from having conversations to running for office, there are just so many in between things you can do.
Yeah.
And if we're all doing them,
also always stick up, please. I don't know. Yeah, I guess this is part of it. If you see someone being racist, homophobic,
yeah, always call out.
You should say something, and that is also a big thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in the habit of doing that, it's scary to stand up for somebody.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not in the room. But you need to stand up for them when they're not in the room if you want to see any change. Because if Joe Schmo, your buddy, is thrown out around like the F slur because he thinks it's fine because he does it when he plays video games.
Yeah.
If he's like, oh wait, Katie corrected me. Maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it puts that little thing in your mind. So those things are important too.
Yeah, and you could do it artfully in a way that like makes them be like, oh, instead of ugh. And a funny comment I read about that was somebody was like, it was like in a Substack, and somebody was like, my dad made a racist joke the other day, and I was like, why do you think that's funny?
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I don't know why I think it's funny. And then he was like, I shouldn't have said that. Like,
explain the joke to me.
Yeah, exactly. Explain the joke to me. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do these things in a way that plants the seeds of change instead of making someone feel ashamed, which often they'll just react defensively to. They might think about it later and then come to terms of
but
it.
When even if it's kind of a hey, don't say that. Even if it's not the perfect way, I think you should still do it.
It takes
because when they're alone later on, they're going to have to contend with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just simply asking, explain that to me is a pretty powerful thing, because usually they'll be like, I don't know. I can't explain it, I guess.
And like, if you ask someone like, why are you using that slur? And they're like, oh, I use it with the guys when we play Halo or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh, why?
But why? Yeah, just ask
why. Why is that okay?
Just ask why. That's curiosity. That's coming to something with curiosity.
Do you think it's okay when you're on a video game?
Yeah.
Like,
why is it okay on a video game?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Yeah. Exactly. So that was kind of a long way of saying that everything is important.
Yeah.
And
anything you can do is good.
Can do hard things or easy things or medium things. And on that note, I am taking time this week to catch up on my reading for this, because I'm actually taking Ben's Constitution class on Substack.
Whoa.
And each week he covers like a certain portion of the reading.
Cool.
And then just like we go through it. He records it though, so I attended the first one live, but it's at a time that I can't really make every week, so I have to like read my next chunk, watch the video, then be caught up for next week.
Nice.
So that's what I'm doing.
What I'm making time for is not a political thing, but I'm rock climbing.
Oh,
I did it last
nice.
Tuesday, and I'm gonna do it on Monday.
That's awesome.
I got a pass.
Where?
It's hard and it's scary, so I figured that's a reason I should try it more.
And it will help your upper body.
I know. Oh my god, my arms were like, what am I doing? There's a place like right around the corner from my apartment.
Oh, cool.
It's awesome. I can walk there.
That's
I got a
awesome.
big boo-boo that I'm gonna have to wrap up tomorrow. Yeah, it was like, it's so hard, and also it's a little like, it's scary because it's bouldering, so you don't have a rope.
Yeah.
You're just climbing up, and then you come back down.
Oh my god.
And I was like, you know what? These two things are making like, it was like, I felt uncomfortable. I felt a little scared, but I knew I was safe.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so difficult. And I was like, those are 3 reasons that I want to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like those are kind of 3 things, like similarly, like we said about your like, opinions like on politics or, history or whatever. It's like, if it makes you like a little bit uncomfortable and it's a little scary, like keep thinking about it. Keep doing it. Like keep engaging and investigating it. Yeah. And one last little thought is that I feel like I talk a big game about like, we're in a moment and we can overcome it and blah blah blah, but I get down on things too. But when I do, I just think about Leslie Knope and her
just forever optimism, and I think us millennials have a unique optimism. And I tried to harness it. I mean, not that Leslie wasn't a millennial, but I feel like she set the standard.
She was someone a lot of us looked up to.
Because we
at pivotal times in our lives.
Her as we came up in the world.
When we had our first jobs. Well, outside of college and grad school.
Yeah. Parks and Rec is a great show. And with that, we will say goodbye.
10,000 candles in the wind.
Little Sebastian. Bye.